Carl-Lentz, the former pastor of the global megachurch Hillsong, was a rock star figure in the world of religion. Since his days as a student at Hillsong College in the mid-2000s, Lentz had established himself as a golden child of the church with access to Houston's tight inner circle. Lentz achieved mild mainstream fame based on his proximity and access to the millennial celebrities in his flock: Justin and Hailey Bieber, Vanessa Hudgens, Kevin Durant, and Selena Gomez. Tens of thousands of urban evangelicals followed Lentz for his soaring sermons at weekly services that resembled rock concerts. On November 4th, Hillsong's global senior pastor and founder Brian Houston publicly fired Lentz and his wife Laura, pointing to leadership issues and breaches of trust. Lentz's fall from grace is a tale of how a global religious institution and a celebrity pastor managed to deceive those they were supposed to serve. This is the story of the downfall of a mega-church leader and how a seemingly ordinary person used his celebrity connections and his congregation to rise to the top. Carl Lentz grew up in a Baptist family in Virginia, but had drifted away from his faith by the time he started college at North Carolina State. However, during a visit home, Lentz's parents took him to a service at the newly established Wave Church, where he felt a calling to serve Jesus. Lentz eventually left school and attended Hillsong College in Sydney, where he became fast friends with Joel Houston, the son of Hillsong's founder, Brian Houston. The two talked about their shared dream of establishing a Hillsong Church in New York, while also gaining a reputation for their nightlife exploits. Lentz also met his future wife, Laura, who had family connections to the Houstons, during his time at Hillsong College. During his internship with Brian Houston, Lentz had the opportunity to learn from the Christian marketing geniuses behind Hillsong's success. Hillsong, which started as a small Pentecostal church with 150 attendees in a public school hall in the 1980s, had grown to become a global megachurch with multiple churches worldwide and an average weekly attendance of over 150,000 congregants in 30 countries by the year 2000. Through his friendship with Joel Houston, Lentz gained an insider's view of what would become a megachurch. Upon his return to the U.S. in 2005, Carl Lentz and his wife Laura took jobs at Wave Church in Virginia Beach. There, he assisted the youth minister with a Wednesday night service for college kids. In 2009, while hanging out on New Year's Eve, Joel Houston proposed the idea of starting their own branch of Hillsong Church in New York. Lentz was enticed by the idea of having his own church to run and moved his family to the Williamsburg waterfront. Lentz's closest colleagues and friends also moved into the area, and their building, known as the Compound, became the center of church business in the city and the site of exclusive late-night parties that often included models and young men of Hillsong who had proven their loyalty. Despite the church's teachings reserving sex for marriage, there were reports of the men sleeping around and getting drunk at neighborhood bars, even starting a fight once. As the head pastor of the New York outpost of Hillsong Church, Lentz quickly became the church's most recognizable face, liberally tattooed, elaborately coiffed, and often dressed like a teenage hype beast. The Hillsong NYC community relied heavily on volunteer work. While all churches rely to some degree on volunteer labor to function, Several former Hillsong volunteers described a particularly intense culture of working 12 or more hours a day and then being treated as low-status workers by church leaders. On Sundays, volunteers at Hillsong NYC had to arrive at 5 a.m. to set up and prepare for the services. The crew team unloaded trucks, the tech team set up sound and projectors, and the host team checked theater seats. The last service ended around midnight, after which the equipment was broken down and the theater cleaned. Aspiring pastors served as members of the drive team and were available 24/7 to ensure Carllentz's safety, transporting him to and from church services. Some former volunteers poked fun at the protective measures. As Lentz's celebrity and the church's profile grew, he had changed in many ways. The church seemed to go out of its way to cultivate a hierarchy of coolness. A reserved seating section for VIPs appeared at the front of the church and then expanded to take up multiple rows. Congregants also described a distinct caste system at the church that corresponded to appearance, wealth, and fame. In 1999, Patty Millett attended a Christian conference in Toronto where she watched Judah Smith speak about the Bible and Jesus. She was impressed with his preaching and left the summit with recordings of his sermons. When Millett reached out to Judah and his wife, Chelsea Smith, in 2010 to invite them to one of her son's concerts in Washington, the Smiths had become co-lead pastors at the City Church in Seattle. Millett asked if they could meet her son. "I don't know if you've heard of my son," Chelsea remembers Millett saying, "but he needs some good influences in his life. Would you come?" It was 2010. Of course the Smiths had heard of her son. Justin Bieber, then 16, was the most Googled person in the U.S. that year. The Smiths introduced Bieber to Carl and Laura Lentz, and the two pastors became influential figures in Bieber's life. In 2014, Justin Bieber moved into Carl and Laura Lentz's home for 6 weeks to escape the paparazzi after getting into multiple controversies. During this time, Carl gave an interview with the New York Post, revealing that he was now Bieber's spiritual advisor. Carl's closeness to Justin also made him a target for media attention, resulting in appearances on shows such as The View, Good Morning America, and Oprah's Super Soul Sunday, where he talked about Justin and promoted his new book, Own the Moment. The Hillsong Church seemed to thrive on the attention, and Carl appeared to love the newfound success. During Justin's The Purpose World Tour, Carl joined the pop star in New Zealand, and they were photographed doing tequila shots at a bar, with Justin subsequently removing his shirt. In the summer of 2017, Justin abruptly canceled the remainder of a concert tour citing fatigue. But it was later reported that the 23-year-old singer left the tour because he rededicated his life to Christ thanks to carllentz. Following allegations of bullying, misuse of authority, and sexual assault made against him by his former nanny Leona Kimes, carllentz initially denied the claims, but later admitted to engaging in an affair with Kimes, stating that it was a case of manipulated intimacy, whatever that means. The allegations led to Hillsong Church commissioning a private investigation into the conduct of its New York City branch. The report, which was not intended for public release, was leaked to the Christian Post. The investigation was based on interviews with current and former staff and volunteers. The report includes details of the night Lentz and Kimes were caught in the act by Laura Lentz, who was accused of physically assaulting Kimes. Investigators also described how Kimes was introduced to marijuana for the first time one night while all the adults were drinking, and later that night, while practically passed out on the couch, Lentz massaged her legs. These revelations shocked the Hillsong community, and the report highlighted the toxic culture that existed within the church. Laura claimed to have seen hand-touching and leg-rubbing, and she punched Leona 2 or 3 times in the face with a closed fist. Carl then grabbed Laura, and both he and Leona allegedly gaslit Laura, convincing her that she didn't see what she saw. Laura said that she wanted Kimes out of their lives after the incident, but Carl convinced her to keep Kimes on. In June 2020, Lentz was sitting in Domino Park in Brooklyn in one of the social distancing circles painted on the ground when he noticed a fashion designer named Ranin. He asked if she wanted to take his circle as he was leaving, and she declined. She offered instead to walk with him, and he ended up taking her number. His wife was not in town on the day they met, so that same night he texted her. During their conversation, Lentz revealed that he worked for celebrities and managed them, but refused to share much else about himself. Ranin later Googled Carl and discovered that he was a married pastor. When she asked him about it, he admitted to being married and claimed that nothing was wrong with his marriage. Ranin did not seem to have any problem with this revelation, and Lentz eventually agreed to visit her at her house. However, upon arriving, he expressed regret and said he shouldn't have taken her number because he was a married man. But this didn't stop him from starting a 5-month affair with her. Carllentz went to great lengths to hide his relationship with Ranin from his wife during these 5 months. He lied to his family about his whereabouts and saved Ren's number in his phone's notes app. But in October 2020, his life changed forever when he accidentally left his laptop open at church. His co-workers, including his wife Laura, found texts and photos of Ren on his laptop, and they began to investigate further, discovering even more evidence of his infidelity. It was this discovery of their relationship by the church which eventually brought that relationship to an end. Lentz called Kareem to tell her that everything was coming out and his life was over. In a private video conference with staff members and volunteers, Brian Houston described the discovery of more than one affair and connected Carl's dismissal to his general narcissistic behavior and breaches of trust due to constantly lying. During the time he was seeing Kareem, Lentz admitted to engaging in another inappropriate relationship with a woman he met 2020, whom he had listed in his contacts as Germany. Lentz claimed he met her at a deli in Brooklyn, and their contact was sexual but did not involve intercourse. He stated that Germany was not connected to the church and did not attend Hillsong. After this revelation, 3 more women came forward anonymously to share their stories of affairs with Lentz. The Lentzes sold their home in Montclair in October and decamped to Southern California. It's been reported that after 2 years of self-discovery and healing, Lentz has recently joined a Midwest megachurch as a strategist. After nearly 3 years of remaining out of the spotlight, Lentz has now joined the staff of Transformation Church in a role focusing on the church's ministry strategy. This was the cautionary tale of Carl Lentz, the celebrity pastor who was tangled in multiple affairs and his mighty fall from grace.